Welcome back to the class. So, today I want to demonstrate um, how to use this very specific tool online, right? It's called as BPNM.io. It provides you with a simpler implementation of um, what is called as business process management notation that is used to model or visually represent a business process, right? Now, I don't work for this website or the company. It's really free, so I just thought that I can demonstrate that with a real business scenario so that you can understand how to use this tool. Um, where this tool is useful, I mean, business process um, analysis, business process management, business process reengineering is probably very useful in a pure business sense, right? But where I'm coming into here is from an IT perspective, from a software developer perspective, right? Because whenever you are in a corporate setup and you are in a IT development position, what happens is you will have to have an understanding of business processes. um, and once you have an understanding of the business processes, you can also understand the systems, some of the IT systems that help with those business processes. And once you have an understanding of that, you can also figure out opportunities where there could be improvement, not from a process perspective, but from an IT perspective, where you may figure out that, hey, if we employ a particular kind of IT system, a particular kind of IT hardware and software combination, that might help in that particular business process, which is highly inefficient right now, right? So you can find opportunities that way. Anyway, so I just want to demonstrate this so you can try this out. As I said, that it could be used for a purely business scenario, but I just want to say where I'm coming from, right? So you click on this try online and you click on create. And so here is the whole thing, right? Now I think there is a download option where your file can be downloaded in a BPMN 2.0 format, which I guess could be used in other BPMN tools. You can also download an image that, and they're providing an SVG image, so that will be nice, where you can, download it and put it in presentations and stuff to demonstrate how a business process works. Okay. Anyway, let's talk about these notations first, right? And I want to put these notations in play here. So you see that there is a circle here. Okay. This circle is called a start event. Okay. Now when you are studying business processes, every kind of business process starts with an event and triggers other events, right? So for example, let's come up with a scenario. Okay, so let's say that I want to apply for a car loan. Okay, now then what happens is I go to a banking website and I'm uh, kind of entering all the details, my social security number and my the amount of money I want for a loan, things like that. So that actually triggers a process, right? Where first your credit history will be checked to see if you have qualified credit to get the loan, right? And let's say that you are qualified. So then the bank kind of shows you the terms on which you can get the loan, and then you can decide to take the loan. So you decide on that, you sign some papers, and that triggers a whole lot of things inside the bank to make sure that your loan amount is available and things like that. And they may provide you a promissory note, which you can then take and go to the, for example, a car company, buy the car, and then the car company fills the details on how much amount they want to take from that loan, and then that comes back to the bank, and then the bank sets up the loan, maybe sets up your payment requirements and things like that. So if you see that a particular business event actually triggered a bit of a process, okay. So that's why we deal with events, okay. So when we deal with events, there is a start of that event, and then there is a end of that event, okay. So you see that there is the start of the events are a thin circle, and end of the event is a thick circle, okay. Very simple, right? Now there is also interim events, okay, which is a double circle, which is like, as I told you, that, well, so I applied for the loan, but that triggered some process which will have to check my credit history, right? Now, if the credit history doesn't work out, then there may be another exception process which kind of tells you that, hey, your credit is not ready. Do you want to look for other kind of options to obtain the loan? So those are all sub events or interim events that can be triggered, right? And those interim events can trigger its own process. So that's a double circle, okay? So a circle is event, a double circle is an interim event, and a thick circle is end of event, okay. So that's one. Then you have something called as a gateway, and actually there are three types of gateways, right? So I've included one type here. Let me get other gateways. So there's a gateway like that, and there is a gateway, let's see, like that, okay. So what are gateways? Gateways are basically, if you think in software terms, it's a condition, okay. And based on the condition, you are branching out into various other processes, right? So it's a way to branch to multiple processes. So when you branch to multiple processes, when you say it's so the first one is an exclusive gateway, okay. So an exclusive gateway means, so let me do one thing. Let me just put the comments here so that you know, okay. It's a start event. This one is an end event. Let me make it a little bigger. Okay, so that's a start event, that's an end event. That is sorry, this is an interim event. Interim event. That is an end event. Okay, and when we talk about gateways, we are really talking about a gateway is a point where your process splits into multiple processes, right? And this is an exclusive gateway. Okay, an exclusive gateway means that, well, you branch to, you branch to one process because it's condition A. You branch to another process if it is condition B. You branch to another process if it is condition C, right? Those are exclusive gateways, okay? So because based on the condition, there's one path you take, okay? Now, a parallel gateway is interesting because let's say that you are branching, but those branches are all triggered in parallel, okay? So for example, um, your loan is ready, okay, and once your loan is ready, there is one process that sets up your payment information, right? like what account you're going to pay, how often you're going to pay, through what means you're going to pay. So that process gets triggered. And then the loan itself goes through its process of underwriting and getting the amount ready, transferring the amount uh, to the car company. So there are processes that can branch, but they are all running in parallel, right? So to indicate that this is a parallel gateway, okay? So it's a parallel gateway. Okay, so basically these are used for multiple branching. Okay, you got to understand a gateway is a place where things branch. Okay, now an event-based gateway. This is an event-based gateway, right? And those event-based gateways are further divided into like an email. What kind of event? Okay, you can talk about various types of events. Okay, including things like mail message and stuff like that. Okay, but what I want to put here is that this is a event based gateway, and in an event based gateway what happens is multiple events are triggered. Okay, so multiple events may end up with its own processes, right? So again, an example of that is, let's say that you are in the finance department, but once the loan gets approved, things go to a payment department, things go to the document generation department because they probably need to generate some letters and send you an email. There may be a legal government department that takes care of, let's say that your loan has some legal implications or government implications, right? Maybe the government is giving you some incentive. So when you have an event-based gateway, the, there are events that generate, and then the events themselves end up into processes that has nothing to do with your process, right? So you just indicate that, hey, I'm going to send an email, or I'm going to send a message, I'm going to send an event object, right? So that is the event-based gateway. Okay. Um, then, and this is the most important, right? This is called as this this square rectangular, um, looking notation. It's called as a task. Okay. Now in process, always you're going to have tasks. Okay, as I'm describing each work that needs to be done, either manually or in an automatic fashion, or in a combination of manual and automatic, right? Like if you're filling a form and saving it in a database, that's manual and automatic, right? If if there is a AI system that figures out based on your credit history and everything, it figures out that it can give you X amount of loan, then that is a fully automated process, right? And then if it is somebody where you're in the driver's license office, you're filling in an application and handing it over to a person, and the person reads it and checks if everything that you filled in the application is correct, that's a fully manual process, right? Any of these can be tasks. Okay, any of these can be tasks. Now you do need to understand that one task can be followed by another task, right? And for that you will be using like these lines with arrows. Okay, and these lines with arrows can go anywhere to anywhere, right? So I can have an arrow to a gateway, for example. Okay, so these lines with arrows is another thing that you got to remember, and it can go from and to, and then that arrow indicates in which direction it's going. Okay, so we understood a task and the flow. So this line is really a flow, right? So it indicates the flow in which way your process is flowing. Okay, now these are there, and then you have, okay, this one in terms of this is called as a data store. Okay. Now you got to be a little careful here, because a data store can be a physical file, right? It can be, a Word document, for example. It can be Google Docs. It can also be a full-fledged database, right? So it's just because that looks like a database symbol, IT people may confuse it with a database. It's not just database. It's anywhere you store data, then that is a data store. Okay. Now, related to data, there's also something called as an object reference. Okay. Now, this object reference is, think of it as one record of something. Okay. It could be a form that you filled. Okay. That could be an object reference. So, where will object reference become useful is that, um, and I've seen this in mostly like an Indian passport application, right? And there is a reference number in the passport application where that reference number is used to kind of uh, create a FedEx label, for example. Okay, so that reference number is actually an object reference. It refers to your application. It refers to a form, right? And that is an object reference. So that is not a data store, but it's an object reference. Okay, so these two are data elements that you can put in your BP, in the business process notation diagram. Okay. Then let's talk about these things. Now, there are two kinds of boundaries. I just placed one boundary here. So this boundary is basically a functional boundary. Okay. Now these functional boundaries can be divided, right? And you can kind of put, I'm going to put functional boundary. Okay. So you kind of put your process diagram inside these functional boundaries, and where this is helpful is what this represents is, it may represent a department, it may represent a group of people, it may even represent an individual, okay, like a customer, okay, individual role, right? So this is used so that to show that, hey, where or who is responsible for this part of the process. Okay, that's where it's used. Now, of course, it can be functionally divided, as I showed you, that there can be subdivisions within that functional division. You can do all kinds of stuff, and the way you do it is that you can have multiple such functional divisions, like and attach them together, or you can keep them separate, right? But it kind of indicates how your process flows from one department, from one functional unit to another functional unit, or from one role, like a customer, to a marketing agent, right? So those are so that's why you use these boundaries or silo boundaries. Now there are two boundaries here. So one is that boundary, right? It's kind of an horizontal boundary, right? There is also a vertical boundary. So, like, let's say that there's things flowing around the finance department, the payment department, everything, but everything is to do with one vertical process of uh, car loans, right? So there is horizontal cross-functional business things that's going on, but there's also verticals that can deal with certain things, right? So this dotted boundary can indicate a vertical process, okay, a vertical within the process, okay. So that's another notation that you can use. And then finally, you have what is called as a sub process, okay. So it's a process within a process to indicate that, hey, this is a sub process within a larger process. Then you use another thing like that, and this can have its own, it can have its own tasks and events and everything, okay. So that is a sub process within a process, okay. And that's pretty much it in terms of notation, I mean that there is a one of the tasks that is called a, so if you see that there is task which is a user task, there's a service task, I can put those here, so that that kind of, so let's say that if this is a user task, hold on, okay, so that's, see, a task itself, you can you press the three dots and say this is a service task, okay, so it's a system that's going on, okay, and then a business rule task, okay, so you got to apply certain business rules, right? So this is, if you want to name your tasks as, hey, this is a manual thing that's going on, this is a business rule that is applied, this is a service, and the service again can be manual or automated, right? So all those things you can indicate that way. What else I'm trying to see? So we dealt with gateways, we get dealt with event-based gateways, and these events themselves, I want to indicate that, okay, it sends an email. See, that's an email event, right? Um, and what event is that? um, I think this is an IT event kind of thing, right? Uh, let's go look at it. Oh, it's a catch event. Okay, this is a document event. Okay, that's a time event. Okay, a time trigger. So that, like, your time starts now kind of situation. So there's some of these event based things can be a little bit more complex, right? Some of these gateway gateways may be a little bit more complex, especially for events. Okay, so you have basically, I've described all the notation right now to build a BPN process, right? And so play around with these. And I really thought that in this class itself, I can actually describe a business process with all its different silos and verticals and stuff like that, just to show you a practical example, right? But I will do that in the next class. This video, it sounds like that I just explained what is business process management notation, and then why we use it, why it's very important for IT people to understand these, and there are different types of notations that you can use to show or to document a business process. Um, and that's pretty much it for this class, right? In the next class, what we will do is we'll use the same tool to actually map out a business process with all its details, so that you can clearly understand when and where any of these notations can be used. Okay, thank you very much for listening to this class. As usual, if you have any questions, if you want to make a comment, please put that in the comments, and I will try to help you and respond. Okay, thank you.